So we need to be able to distinguish if someone's trying to do a get or a post. And the way to do that is quite simple. We just say, we check this request object. You've been wondering, why do we always have this request that comes into this function and we have to pass it through to the render? Like, why is it even there? Well, it's for situations like this, so that we can say if request dot method is equals, so we're checking to see if this is equal to all caps get, then we want to do the following. In this case, we want to return the sign up page with the form and all that good stuff. The else part of this if statement is that this is where we would want to create a new user, right? So if someone comes and is just trying to view the page, like anytime someone just hits enter, anytime you put a URL in a browser and hit enter, that is always a guest. You can only, or a get request. You can only post information through a form. So that's anytime you type something, hit enter, that's going to be a get. So if someone types in sign up and hits enter, that is a get. And then in that case, we want to send them here. If someone does a post, meaning they filled out all this information and hit submit, well, in that situation, this is where we then want to say, okay, we need to save this user into the database and all that good stuff. And you may be thinking, well, we don't have a user model. Like, how is this going to work? Well, that's part of the magic of using that auth app that was already in the settings for us, is there is a user object that's already been saved into our database. Okay, pretty cool that that's all set up for us. Now, as part of this, there's some awesome code to help us create user objects really quickly, and that's some code that we've got to import, and this is also going to import the model for us. So we're going to say from, up here at our imports, from Django.contrib.auth.models, we want to then import capital user. Okay, so this is that user model that we're going to be working with here. So if someone has done a post to us, the first thing that we want to do is essentially create that user object. So we're going to go ahead and say capital user dot objects, okay, dot create underscore user. So this is a function that Django has made for us that makes it really easy to make a new user object. So all we have to do is pass inside of here first whatever the username is going to be. And you may be wondering, like, well, how do we get the information from a post? It's pretty similar to what we do for a get, but basically all we have to do is we just say request, which is again this object that's passed inside of here, dot all caps post, and then at this point it's just a dictionary. We have to provide the key of whatever it is that we're getting. Now you may be wondering, well, what's the different keys for like the username and the password? This user creation form, it auto made these for us. And if you ever want to see them, like in Chrome, if I right click and do inspect, okay, I can hit this little button and hover over username, for example, and it will say, oh, this input, the name that it's going to submit to the post is username. And if we go down to like this password, its name is password1, and the next one here, its name is password2. So that's kind of cool to say, oh, okay, this is what's going on here. These are the things that are going to be submitted. So this is the key, if I go ahead and copy this, to get this information out of a dictionary. So I'm going to say request post username, that's the first part. And then I'm going to specify what the password should be equal to. And we're going to do the same request.post. I'm just going to copy all of this. But rather than username, we got to get either one of the passwords. So we could use password1 or we could use password2. So I'm going to use password1. All right, so we'll go back and update that there. But then this brings us to another point. Probably the first thing that we should do when signing someone up is make sure that the first password and the second password that they gave us were actually the same thing. So what we're going to do is an if statement here, and we're going to say if request dot capital post. Woo, that's not the autocomplete that we wanted. If request dot capital post. Okay, if password1 is equal to password2, that's what we're trying to check. Okay, and we'll update this to be password2. So it's saying if the two passwords match, then at that point we would want to go create a user object. Now the else of that situation is going to be we have to return back an error to the user. So we won't type the code for it yet, but we'll leave a note to ourselves to say tell the user the passwords didn't match. Okay. So now that we know that the passwords are complete, we feel a lot more confident in this function here that creates a new user. So when it creates a new user, we have that object. So we're going to pass this into a variable. We're going to say user is equal to whatever it creates. All right. So after we have that user object, we're going to do a user.save, because this first function that creates the user, it doesn't save it into the database. It just essentially like makes a new user object, sets the username to this, the password to that. But then when we hit save, that actually inserts it into the database. Okay. So just to see how this works, I'm going to do a couple of things here. So I'm going to save what we have. I'm going to go back to our terminal and let's do a Control-C. Oh, and we've got to write a little more code than this. I'm going to just do a print here. Okay, we'll just say hello. All right, there we go. So now I'm going to close out of the server, and we're going to make a super user so that we can see into the database. So I'm going to say Python 3 manage.py create super user. All right, so I'm just going to make one called Nick, give him a password. Oh, that was not, I was hoping the password could just be purple. There we go. Now we're to the password part. So I'll do that purple again. Awesome. And it's saying this is too short. Are you sure you want it? Yes, this is just a little temporary thing. Okay. So with that in place, I'm going to come back to the project and I'm going to go to my /admin, which we got to restart our server to see this. Okay. So we'll go to the admin. I'm going to log in with my Nick and my purple. Okay, let's close out the inspection here. And you can see on the admin part of the site, we actually have two different models here, groups and users. Now, we're not going to dive into groups, but we're going to check out users. And you can see there's actually already been a user that's been added to the database. And that's the Nick that we did when we did that create super user. And here's the username. I would have had an email if I put in a correct email. But it's kind of cool that you can go click on this and see all the different information. But what we're hoping is that when we actually go and sign up a new user, that one will show up here. So in a new tab, let's go back to our home page, and then we're going to go to /signup. All right. And it looks like I have misspelled request somewhere. Okay, in views on line 6. Okay, views line 6, request. Quest. Come on, Nick. You can do this. Let's reload this page. Awesome. All right, so now that we're here, we already have a user with the name Nick. Let's go ahead and try something else, like let's do a user named Joe. Okay, so we'll make Joe. I'm going to make sure that his passwords are the same. I'm going to sign him up. And looks like I've misspelled request again. This must have been because I copy and pasted it everywhere. So request. Look, that looks there. Man, I misspelled this everywhere. This is terrible. All right, let's save that now that I've fixed all my spelling mistakes. Let's go to sign up. We'll do Joe. Give him a password that matches. Now, when we do this, we get this error that says it didn't return an HTTP response, but that's basically saying we came to this situation and or we like saved the user, but you didn't return back like an HTML page for us to show. And what's cool is if we go back to this admin page and reload, whoo, look at that. We have a new user, Joe. Okay, that's the one that we just created here. So this is proof that our sign up system is working. Now, there's still some issues here, right? Because let's say I tried to sign up again and I'm going to do the same name. Like I'm going to do Joe and I do all this stuff, even the passwords match. Well, then we get this error about it not being unique and we've got to handle this better for the user. And what if the passwords don't match? How do we return back an error? We're going to talk about that in the next one.